litmus test for all of humanity. I don't know anybody that can watch those images and not be upset and moved to want to try and stop the genocide that's taking place. It's like incumbent on anybody who has any consciousness to stand with Palestine right now and to shout in every space to stop the bombings and to call for a ceasefire. And that's why I'm here. And I've been in every protest because as a mother, as a humanitarian, I can't just stand and watch what's happening.
Essentially, it's just been getting worse and worse every year. It's not just this year, it's about the accumulation of the past 75 years.
And the British are in it, they are involved. So is the Americans. The British always tricked everybody in the world. And they carry on tricking everybody. They are the tricksters. And the Americans are the biggest supplier of arms. They are the murderers. They don't care.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
I've got a friend in Gaza right now, and he said the only difference was they were killing us slowly, now they're killing us fast.
My family's Irish, and we've seen the struggle against occupation and brutality in my homeland. This hasn't been going on since October the 7th. They've been picking away at the Palestinian people every day since Israel was created. The reactionary forces carried out a serious, horrible act, all right. But that's happening to Palestinians every day since the formation of Israel, but there's no chat about it.
And really, please, nobody's stopping us saying from the river to the sea. It's not a terrorist slogan unless you see it in the Likud manifesto, where they actually say from the sea to the River Jordan should be exclusively Palestinian. They go on about Hamas wanting to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, but they keep very quiet about the current Israeli government, not Jews, the current Israeli fascists wanting to wipe Palestinians off the map. I've got terrorist literature, it's the Likud manifesto, and people who haven't seen it, I suggest you read it before you form an opinion.
I say let's start with the question of, do you condemn Israel? Do you condemn the 9,000 Palestinian lives that have been lost in the past couple of weeks alone? Do we condemn the past 75 years of the occupation of Palestine before we begin talking about that? Do we condemn the fact that Hamas was initially supported by the Israeli state when they were organized and set up? Do we look at those facts, or do we initially jump to what is first put in our face by the BBC?
We need to be part of a movement. We need to join West Midlands Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, Palestine Action. If you've heard of Palestine Action, they're taking direct action against arms factories. There's an arms factory outside Birmingham in Shenstone called Elbit. They're making bombs, and those bombs are being dropped on innocent Palestinians. So we've got to close those arms factories down. So join organisations, get involved.
Orthodox Jews are fighting the state of Israel since its creation. I myself, a Palestinian Jew, I born in Palestine. I'm 7 generations already in Palestine. My whole family gone out. We don't want to live under the Israeli regime. Among tens of thousands of Jewish families that didn't run under the Zionist occupation. Jewish people.
Our instinct after the Second World War was to side with Israel as being the victims of a terrible atrocity, which obviously it was. And Hamas is a nasty piece of work. But, just because Hamas is committing atrocities is no excuse for Israel to create even bigger ones and war crimes. The government has self-declared fascists, a convicted war criminal and a convicted terrorist in the cabinet, and they are the ones who are waging war, not Jews. Anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim is to be condemned, as indeed Hamas is, but also so is the current Israeli regime, in my opinion. And that's why, so many people are coming out marching, because whose side am I on? I was stuck in the middle of the Six-Day War with a Jewish surname in the middle of an Arab country who burnt our embassy and were going to kill all English and Jews. And if you want to talk to me about anti-Semitism, I've had very excited young Arabs waving loaded guns at me in 1967. That calmed down and there was a possibility of peace. But the current Israeli regime won't hear of it.
If we want to have peace in the world, we've got to have peace between nations. If we want to have peace between nations, we need to have peace in the cities. If we want peace in the cities, we've got to have peace between neighbours. We want peace between neighbours, we need to have peace in the home. We want to have peace in the home, we have to have peace in the heart.
The peaceful resolution, there's a variety to take racially, but essentially ceasefire needs to happen now to stop the killings. You know, the pre-1967 two-state solution suggested by the UN, that's the United Nations independent body, that is a possible viability.
Well, the so-called two-state solution, fair enough. Where's the borders? No one's saying, you cannot draw a border in the two-state with the continued occupation of the West Bank and the building of illegal settlements. Where do you draw the border? Who owns Jerusalem? Is the Palestinian capital going to be Jerusalem? Is it the Israeli capital?
Too late for nearly 4,000 of them already dead, but there's so many traumatised. But there are people who are wanting to make peace. You know, there have been the wonderful Torah Jews have been here on this march. There are people of all faiths and all creeds who are marching because they want a ceasefire, they want peace. The men of violence never win. Ask Northern Ireland. You know, we know about, the IRA and Sinn Féin. We have some experience of bringing peace after awful terrorism, and there are the seeds of that. But you've got to stop the men of violence shouting too loudly, and you've got to open the eyes, I think, of the Western governments in the UK and the USA. Because siding with a fascist regime is not what we do. Except now. Why?
History requires us right now, not in the future. When they called Martin Luther, a terrorist, when they called Nelson Mandela a terrorist, people didn't stand by them. When they called the ANC terrorists, we, the people, took to the streets. We were the people that actually boycotted.
South Africa was an apartheid system supported by Israel, and Israel continues to support an apartheid system. Nelson Mandela came out saying, our freedom is incomplete until the freedom of Palestine.
There are so many stories also coming out of this which aren't getting publicised of a rabbi from this country whose daughter was killed, and he had her heart go to a Palestinian in need of a heart transplant. There are so many peaceful exchanges. The unions, Unison and Unite, are out here. The Fire Brigades Union are out. They have experience of pulling bodies out of the rubble. They know the horror of all this. If you ask me whose side I'm on the side of the children.
This is one love, one world, one people, and we've got to care about everybody's tears.
Okay.
And we've got the colours of Ukraine on there as well.